Tom Hudson again, and I want to thank everybody who served on the Initiatives Committee, including, if you'll just raise your hands, Bill Cardoza, Lupe Espinoza, Jim Shoemaker, and Dwight Williams. Thank you guys for serving on this committee. So, rare for me lately, I'm kind of Mr. Gloom and Doom, and so we have a historic day today, and we can be happy about something. And what's really good for us is that, you know, in the 1990s and sometime since then, the California Republican Assembly had a lot of influence over the California Republican Party. And there were actually at least 3 terms where all of the officers of the California Republican Party were CRA members who had been first, you know, nominated for that office by CRA. Well, those days are long gone. You know, most of you know that. We don't have that much influence, and in fact, being a member of CRA is a great way of making sure you're not appointed to a committee at the CRP level lately. But nevertheless, the reason I have a smile and I'm happy about this is because the Initiatives Committee did something that I did not expect, and that's good for them, and we can be proud of them. The Initiatives Committee of the California Republican Party took the conservative position on every single initiative. There's one where they were neutral, and we're going to talk about that when it's Prop 19. That's a legislative compromise, so it's a little bit complicated. But they took the conservative position on every single initiative, and I can't remember the last time they did that, believe it or not. So our committee is recommending today, and I'm going to go through them one by one so you'll be familiar with them, but we're actually recommending today that CRA, which normally acts before the CRP, this year we had to postpone our convention because of the coronavirus lockdown, but I'm going to actually be recommending that we take the same position that the California Republican Party did. And I can't tell you how happy that makes me, because how unusual that has become, that we're in agreement with our state party and we can say, yes, what they did is right. We used to be in agreement before because we controlled them. Well, we don't control them anymore, and they're still agreeing with us, and that's a great thing, so we can be happy today. So I'll begin. I'm going to just go through them very quickly. If you have any questions, go ahead and raise your hand. Proposition 14 is a $5.5 billion bond for stem cell research. We've previously wasted, we had about a $3 billion bond that's going to be like $7 billion by the time we pay it back, that we've already done for this. This is real money, folks. Even in a state, I know when you start talking in the billions, people think, how much is that anymore? My eyes glaze over. I think Tom McClintock is famous for calling these things mega numbers, but because for my eyes glaze over. But we start talking about that number, it's even in a state of 40 million people, they don't realize how much money you are actually spending on this stuff, this special interest giveaway stuff. And we've already spent billions of dollars on stem cell research, politically correct research that has cost our state treasury an incredible amount of money. We've already done that. Well, the special interests that we're getting money from that, they don't want to let that gravy train go, you know. So they're back asking this time for 5.5 billion more. And we definitely need to vote no on that. And if you need any reason to vote no on that, ask yourself what we got out of the billions that we already spent. In that campaign, CRA was pointing out things against that bond. We were the ones pointing out things like they were promising things like the state would hold patents for new kinds of medicine. Guess how many patents we hold? Zero. Billions of dollars spent. We could have, you know, double-decked I-5 or whatever with this kind of money. And so billions of dollars spent. What did we get? Nothing. Absolutely zero. Nobody's cured. It's been a waste of money, and they're back demanding another $5.5 billion. So Prop 14 is an easy no. Prop 15, this is the most dangerous one on the entire ballot, and it's based on a lie. I'm a tax attorney, so I promise not to go into detail, but if you're interested, ask me more about this. What Prop 15 does is it's the split roll. So for commercial properties, certain kinds of commercial properties, they would be reassessed every 3 years to market value, so their property taxes would go up at least every 3 years, and they don't get the protections of Prop 13 from 1978. The lie that Prop 15 is based on, and you hear this lie so often that people start believing a lie, but remember, the property tax records are public. If any of you have access to this thing called the internet, you can look them up yourself on things like Zillow.com, Realtor.org, and other websites. You can actually look up, or go to your county tax assessor's website, you can actually look up the property tax records. And there's this lie that's been going around for decades now that I keep hearing over and over again, and never seems to go away, that commercial properties were paying a lot higher percentage of the property tax in 1978 than they are now. And that's just not true. The Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association keeps publishing actual numbers on this, and it's just not true. It's never been true, but for some reason we keep hearing it, and so they're based on that in this envy and greed. They're like, oh, these commercial properties are somehow getting a better deal out of Prop 13 than everybody else is. That's not true, but that's behind this $12 billion tax increase. And let me tell you, full disclosure, I own a commercial property where, like so many commercial properties, the tenants are paying triple net leases. So the tenants are the ones who are paying the property taxes. I'm not writing a check for those. And so anybody who tells you that, commercial properties, they say, oh, that's just for the super rich or whatever. The mom and pop stores in the building that I'm one of the owners of, the mom and pop stores, they're the ones who get screwed. They're the ones who are going to pay this higher property tax. And that's going to happen up and down the state. So Prop 15 is a disaster for our state. It's the beginning of the evisceration of Prop 13. Once they go for the big business, they'll be coming for you. So that's an easy no vote for CRA. Proposition 16, also an easy no vote. The California Republican Assembly, and particularly my unit, I might add, in Alameda County, where I was vice president at the time, we made a major effort out of this. The California Civil Rights Initiative is now part of the California Constitution. It has been since 1996. The California Civil Rights Initiative says race-based discrimination and special privileges are unconstitutional in California in public contracting, in public education, and public employment. And that's been the case for 24 years now. Prop 16 would overturn that, and the people that are pushing for the overturn, they're talking about affirmative action and those kinds of things, and they always act like they always think they know who's going to benefit, but I'll just tell you, history is an interesting thing. And when you see, once you start racial discrimination, it's always fascinating that the people are surprised that you go down that path and they thought they were going to be the beneficiaries, and oftentimes they're on the losing end of this. And I just think we don't want to be proven right on that, but we'd like to keep our Constitution that we're we're equal in the eyes of the law, regardless of where your great-grandparents came from and those kinds of things. So we want to keep the California Civil Rights Initiative that CRA was a big part of, and to do that, we have to vote no on Proposition 16. Proposition 17 is an interesting one because it allows felons on parole to vote. California, there's a number of states where if you commit a felony, you never get to vote again, and in other states there's a process for getting your voting rights restored. I think it's almost a majority of the states have a process for getting your voting rights restored. California has for my lifetime at least, California has always had the position that, it's kind of what we believe in CRA, the power of redemption, the power of prayer. People can get better, you serve your time, you come out, and we automatically restore your voting rights in California, and that's been the system. But if you're on parole, so you got like an early release, but you're still on parole, you can't vote until your sentence is up, and that's been the rules, they say, for generations in California. This would overturn that, and it would allow felons that are still in the criminal justice system, that are still serving their sentence, to actually go ahead and vote, making us one of the only states like that. And I think it's a bad trend, bad for America. So we're recommending an oppose on that. Proposition 18, truly fascinating. This would allow 17-year-olds to vote in primary elections only, but only those 17-year-olds who would be 18 by the time of the next general election. So in itself, it's like complicated enough that I don't see how this could be a good idea. But it really fascinates me that under Obamacare, you can like be on your parents' insurance until you're 26 or something. So you're not really an adult, until you're 26. And for some purposes, and I'm a tax attorney, so we look at things like the kiddie tax. So you get taxed at your parents' rate for investment income until you're 24 years old. In California, we conform on that rule, by the way, to the federal rule. So you're 24 years old, you're still not quite considered a regular adult, you get taxed at your parents' rate on unearned income. And on this crazy thing, it's like you're 17 and you get to vote. It's like, can we just decide that, as I thought we had a generation ago, that when you're 18, you're an adult, and let's just leave it at that? I don't understand why we're messing with that, but that's Proposition 18. Do you have a question on that, George? Yes, you got to be 21 to smoke cigarettes. You got to be 21 to buy even ammunition now, and it's amazing. But we're going to let these 17-year-olds vote. So, bad idea. No on Prop 18. Proposition 19 is the most complicated thing we have in front of us today. It's the only one where the California Republican Party does not have an endorsement. I'm going to try to go through it very quickly, but I want to make sure you all understand, because part of your role as Republican leaders is to help educate the public about this. Proposition 19, first of all, is a legislative referendum. That means it's technically not an initiative. It was placed on the ballot by the legislature, and it's a legislative compromise. And in like the true nature of compromises, that means there's stuff in it we like and stuff in it we don't like. And that's what makes it tough. And I believe a majority of our Republican legislators actually supported it in the legislature. So I want you to pay attention to the details, because there is a lot of good stuff in it and there's some bad stuff in it. And on balance, I think CRA should oppose it because it's probably, and it's difficult to predict human behavior, how people respond to a tax increase, but it's likely to be about a $2 billion a year tax increase, which is one of the main reasons to oppose it. And that's also the reason, interestingly enough, that like the California Teachers Association supports it. When have they ever supported something in a property tax relief type of way? They support it because it's a $2 billion a year tax increase. But here's the two things. Let me start with the good thing. Under current law since 1982, if you're either 55 years old or older, or you become disabled, you can sell your home in California and you can transfer your, what's called your factored base year value in the Constitution, but most of us would call it the Prop 13 value. You can transfer your value to another home of equal or lesser value. You can do that one time in your life. This is current law I'm talking about. One time in your life, and you can do that either within your own county, or there's I believe we're down to 10, used to be more, but we're down to 10 counties will allow you to transfer your value from a different county. So, for example, a lot of you are from Los Angeles County. I live in Placer County. I could move to Los Angeles County, buy a home of equal or lesser value once I turn 55, and I could keep my Prop 13 rate. And the reason for that is the legislature back in the 80s and 90s when this was done, there are a lot of people who are stuck in a big house and they would like to downsize when they retire to a smaller house. Their kids have left the home and things, they'd like to downsize, but they're kind of trapped because they literally can't afford the taxes on the smaller home. Even though it's smaller and the tax bill should be less, they can't afford it, so they're trapped in the big house. And even the liberals in the legislature realize this is bad public policy to have people kind of trapped for tax reasons in a house they don't want anymore. They want to downsize to a smaller apartment. Maybe their spouse has died and they like to, but they really couldn't. So under current law, you can do that once in your life, and it's a house of equal or lesser value. Got to be 55 or become disabled. That's current law. What this would change to that, and this is the positive part again of Prop 19, this says, first of all, you can move anywhere in the state. You still have to be 55 or become disabled, or be a fire victim like all these people who were displaced when the city of Paradise burned down, as an example. So it says if you're a fire victim or you're 55 or become disabled, then you can move anywhere in the state, and you can do it 3 times under Prop 19. The thought, I guess, being that sometimes people downsize when they retire or something, and then they'll downsize again if they have health issues and they need to move to a place that's like closer to a hospital or something. And you can do that up to 3 times. And the key thing, though, is you could do it any county in the state. Like Placer is not part of the current deal like Los Angeles is for where you can move in and keep your tax rate from another county. But under Prop 19, you could move to Placer County. I use my county as an example because we've been most of the last 20 years the fastest growing county in the state. So under Prop 19, the good part is everybody in this room, if you reach the age of 55 or you become disabled, you could move it to any other place in California and keep your property tax rate, when you do that. So that's the good part. And that's what caused our Republican legislators, some very good people, very intelligent people, to vote in favor of this. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the bad part, because by the nature of this thing, this was a compromise, and so they put some bad stuff in it to raise some money, I guess, so that they would feel better about losing some money by giving you the ability to change your, to move. The bad part is, since 1982, it wasn't actually in the original Prop 13, but the legislature actually put this on the ballot in 82 because there were a lot of kids where their parents died and the kids were living in the home with the family home with the parents, and suddenly the kids' tax rates went up, 400%, and they're like, I can't even afford to live in my parents' home anymore. I got to sell it because mom died and now the taxes have gone up so high I can't live here anymore. So the legislature was persuaded to put something on the ballot, and I think nearly 80% of the voters, something like that, supported this in 1982, to say that for parent-child transfers, the parents can transfer their primary residence to their kids, and up to $1 million of other property. I'm using air quotes, but it's in the state constitution. It says other property. So basically any other property, including commercial property, vacation rentals, so forth. You could transfer up to $1 million of assessed value in other property from parents to children without a tax increase. That's current law. We've had that since 1982. The public purpose, the ostensive purpose that everyone was told about this back in the 80s when this passed overwhelmingly, was that this was to deal with that situation of like the parents die and suddenly the kids are taxed out of their home. That was the problem that was being addressed. But the vast majority, if you're looking at the dollars tax-wise of what that benefit is saved, I used to work, by the way, for 13 years at the Board of Equalization that writes the property tax rules. I should just tell you, I know a little bit about this professionally, but the vast majority of the money that was saved by taxpayers wasn't for the primary residence of their parents. The vast majority was this $1 million of other property, including commercial property and things like that, that people were able to maintain their parents' rate in a parent-child transfer situation like that. And so what Proposition 19 would do, the bad side, is it says, we're only going to let you keep your parents' property tax rate for the primary residence of the kids, not of the parents. The current law is primary residence of the parents. It's only for the primary residence of the kid. So in a parent-child transfer situation, the only thing that escapes reassessment is the primary residence of the child, and not any of these other properties, and it doesn't matter if it's the primary residence of the parents. So that aspect of Prop 19 is estimated to cost a couple $2 billion a year, particularly for commercial property reassessments and things. And so it's a major tax increase that's caused a lot of liberal organizations to vote for Prop 19. It's also caused, that's why the legislature got this on the ballot. The Democrats like this because they're like, oh, more money, whoopee. And so on balance, the committee is recommending that you guys, unlike the CRP, which is neutral on this because it's difficult for the CRP to take a position because we got some good stuff and bad stuff in the same ballot measure. But I'm recommending, and the committee is recommending, a no vote on Prop 19. And the reason is we understand that there are some problems with the current property tax system. And you notice I didn't say Prop 13 because none of the things I just talked about, the parent-child transfer thing, that's not in Prop 13. And the moving between counties, once that wasn't in Prop 13. That was put on the ballot by the legislature in 1982. So this stuff is not part of Prop 13, but you notice the legislature in the public discussion that sometimes talks about Prop 13. We're recommending a no vote on this because we think the bad outweighs the good. And if there's any questions about that, I can answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to move on. Okay, Prop 20. Prop 20 is only one of two that we're supporting. Prop 20, most of you are familiar with Prop 47 and 57. In the last few years, we've changed the criminal system a lot and released a lot of criminals, including some violent and dangerous criminals. And this Prop 20 was actually put on the ballot by county prosecutors and their association, their political association, put this on the ballot to fix some of the problems, not all of them, but fixes some of the problems with Prop 47 and 57 and make sure that certain violent and other crimes are still classified as felonies. A lot of you guys remember, because we talked about it here at CRA, when in 2016, they actually had a terrible gun control measure, but it had a provision in it that was good, because Prop 47 and 57 had actually made it so that stealing, if I steal your gun, it could be a misdemeanor. If I steal your gun, it's under $1,000 value, that would be a misdemeanor. But if I make some meaningless paperwork error when I'm trying to buy a gun the legal way and I'm trying to do everything right and I unintentionally make some mistake, it's like felony, 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 unbelievable under that. And so people are like, wait a minute, how come doing it the right way, you can commit all these innocent felonies? If you do it the wrong way, I just steal it from you, it's a misdemeanor, and some counties don't even prosecute. It's like, what's wrong with this? So on that issue, with the gun issue in 2016, that was fixed at the initiative level. But there's other crimes like that Prop 20 would fix. So CRA opposed Prop 57 and Prop 47, and we think scaling those back is a good thing. So we support Prop 20. Prop 21, I'm not even going to talk about. We've heard this issue over and over again. They're back with crazy rent control, the worst thing to ever happen to the cities like Berkeley that have adopted it. most of you know, Berkeley, Santa Monica, Oakland, San Francisco, Los Angeles. There's only a handful of cities in California that had rent control, and all of them are places you'd never want to live. Sorry if you live there, but they're all pretty horrible, and rent control has made them worse. And so they're back with another bad idea that won't seem to go away. It's Prop 21, so we urge a no vote. Prop 22, we're nearly done on this. Prop 22 was put on the ballot by Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash. It is a very specialized exception to AB 5, which went into effect in January 1st of this year. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, in the Dynamex decision a couple years ago, California dramatically changed the definition of what it means to be an independent contractor versus an employee. And we did it in a way that's a complete nightmare that doesn't work for most people and for most kinds of jobs. And because it was such a nightmare, AB 5 itself exempts profession after profession after profession after profession. There were like quite literally dozens of bills in the legislature this time to exempt even more professions from this new scheme we have that's completely unworkable. And I think I'll tell you, as an attorney, for example, all attorneys are exempt from AB 5, but all accountants, all doctors, all these other things, they keep having these exemptions because it's a completely unworkable thing. So everybody with a lobbyist has gotten an exception. But one of the people that didn't get an exception, but is equally unworkable, are app-based drivers who are working for Uber and things like that, where 80% of the drivers, by the way, because they've been polled by Uber and Lyft themselves, 80% of them are in support of Prop 22. We want to stand with them and allow them to be independent contractors. The model of them being told that you have to work in a certain neighborhood where you may not want to work, and you have to work at certain times, like if the bars close at 2 a.m. to be told, no, you have to start work at 2 a.m. You say, I don't want to work at 2 a.m., I'm asleep. It's like, that's the employment model that the Democrats are trying to force on everybody, and they're doing that because they want to be able to unionize these people. That's the evil incentive on this. And so Prop 22 exempts Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, those kinds of app-based drivers from the new AB 5 rules. I wish it had just repealed AB 5 entirely, but this is the nature of our initiative process. They're the ones paying for it, so they wanted to take care of themselves, and who cares if independent truck drivers get screwed or whatever, but that's the nature of the process. So we're in support of Prop 22. Just 3 left. Proposition 23 sounds like you've seen it before. I don't know how many dialysis clinic regulatory experts we have in the room, but the people behind this initiative seem to think that we're all experts in current law on the regulation of dialysis clinics. And again, this is the unions want to, because of government regulation, dialysis clinics in California have increasingly become centralized with 2 different companies that are running the vast majority of them. And this is what happens when there's a phone book this high of regulations that mom and pop people can't possibly even read them all in their lifetime. And so you get big corporate consolidation. And so in this consolidated environment, the people doing it aren't complying with the nurses' union's wishes, and so twice now they put something on the ballot to have very complicated regulations for dialysis clinics. We think this is the wrong way to deal with a complicated subject like this. I have no problem in telling you that I'm not an expert on dialysis clinics, but I certainly don't think the voters should be voting for this kind of thing. I think it doesn't make any sense. How do I know what the right staffing ratio is for a particular clinic with a particular population? So we oppose this, and we even oppose the concept of the initiative process being used for this kind of regulation, particularly where we know that people are going to die if we adopt a regulation that's impractical and a clinic shuts down. People die. When you have dialysis, people have to be in there like 3 times a week, and if the local clinic shuts down, that may result in actual loss of life. So this is the wrong way to go about it. No on 23. Proposition 24 is we're back to consumer privacy, and this one I'm confused about several aspects of it, because just January 1st of this year, the same people who were behind this got their way in the legislature last year. And so a bunch of new, extremely complicated privacy rules went into effect in California just this year on January 1st. And this initiative is very similar to what is already current law. And some of the differences, I think most conservatives agree that a lot of the differences between this and current law, they're all complicated, but they're all negative, they're all bad. And so I'm just going to give you one example. In current law, if you make an innocent mistake in dealing with consumer data or something like that, under current law, the penalty is like $7,500 per person, you know, and you make the mistake and it affects 10,000 people, you know, 7,500 times 10,000, it can shut down your whole business. That's current law, but current law that the legislature passed has a provision that if it was an innocent mistake and you fix it, you know, you get back the data or you do something, you can avoid the penalty. This initiative doesn't have that. So, you know, you make an innocent mistake, suddenly your business is bankrupt and shut down, and we destroy the economy and chase everybody out of California. And so this is actually much worse than current law. Did you have a question about Prop 24?
No.
Okay, the last one though, we're on the very last one now. Prop 25, we're recommending oppose on this. Prop 25 is the only not legislative referendum, but the standard referendum where people gathered signatures to get this on the ballot. So the legislature a couple years ago, back in 2018, it actually repealed the money bail system in California legislatively. And the bail bondsman industry put this on the ballot to overturn that. And the way it works under the California Constitution since 1916 is that when something qualifies for the ballot like that, it stops the legislation from going into effect. So we still have a money bail system right now in California until this gets voted on. But if you support the bondsman who put this on the ballot, you have to vote no. That's how it always works with initiatives. So you vote no to keep the legislature's solution from going into effect. And I never thought, you know, anybody you talk to who knows anything at all about our money bail system has a horror story that they've heard of, and I can tell you several. I won't right now. If you're interested, contact me afterwards. But everybody has horror stories about how our current system is screwed up and how people who didn't commit any crime at all, you know, the judge gave them a unrealistically high bail, and maybe they had a bad credit history or something, so they couldn't get a bail bond, and they end up rotting in jail for weeks and weeks and losing their job for a crime they didn't commit that they get exonerated from, and maybe the charges are even dropped. And this happens all the time. So there's a lot of problems with our current system. And I understand why the legislature was highlighting some of the problems with our current system. But this throws the baby out with the bathwater. If this passes, the whole current system is scrapped. Basically, when they arrest you, you're kind of released on your own recognizance, like the so-called catch and release programs for the, you know, immigration and customs enforcement, where people come in and they're given a court date to argue about their immigration status, and more than 90% of them don't show up. And this sort of extends that same logic from the federal immigration system to everything else. So, you know, they catch you on a crime, you're released on your own recognizance. Please make sure to show up next month on, you know, on the 21st for your court date, and people don't show up, and it's like, that's why we have a bail system, people. You know, we've got to have some reason that they have to show up, or they're in trouble, or they lose the money, or the bail bondsmen are going to go track them down and find them and bring them into court to make sure they're there. So even though there's lots of problems with the current system that the legislature should have addressed directly and made sure that decisions on the right amount of bail are really not just done by formula, but they're looking at you specifically and saying, could we have an ankle bracelet on this guy without forcing him to spend $1 million on bail, things like that. We would have wanted those kind of reforms. That's not what this is. This sort of scraps the whole system. So we got to vote no on Prop 25, even though we can acknowledge there's some issues with the current system. So that's the report.